So Barry, you wrote a couple books, right? And everybody said that
Yeah.
books are extremely hard to write. A book is a lot of work, a lot of effort. So can you name a few books that you wrote and why you decided to write them?
And why is it hard to write them?
And why is
Yeah,
it
why
hard to
you
write
decided to write them?
Oh,
okay.
okay. Let me get back to that because Patty has a question. Patty's question is,
you want to start writing a blog?
you want to start writing a blog? Any advice about programming?
I haven't blogged.
I haven't blogged much.
I guess. Patty, do you have particular worries about how to get started? Do you have particular issues, particular thoughts, things that are maybe keeping you from getting started? My first question is. Maybe Patty, let me ask you this. Do you have thoughts about programming that you feel are interesting and that you want to tell people about? My notion about blogging, although I haven't done much of it, I've written articles, but I haven't done blogging. But my notion about blogging is that the way you do it is to say, hey, I have an interesting thought. I want to tell somebody about it. I'm going to write it somewhere. So you find a place to put your blog and then go ahead and start writing it and keep doing it whenever you have a thought. I don't know if that's what you're getting at with your question or not. Okay. And have you tried blogging? Okay, and what's keeping you?
That's the question. Why not?
Fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection.
That's going to hold you back, Patty, right? That's going to hold you back. A lot of people, I think, that has this fear in the beginning, but do it. Get something that you like, some language, some framework you like. And as you study, blog about it. You'll find thousands of people that they are on the same path as you. They are trying to learn something.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a story from my book writing experience. When I first started writing, I was telling a buddy of mine that I had plans to write a book. And what he said was, don't write a book because everything you write will get trashed by some experts who think that you've gotten it wrong. It's never happened. And it's not because what I write is so accurate, although I'd like to think that it's close enough to accurate. But I think people aren't particularly looking for things that are wrong. I put my email address in all my books, and so I hear from readers frequently. And I expected when I did that the first time that I would get all sorts of nasty emails. I'd say 1 in 100 of the emails that I receive are negative. And when they're negative, they're about, I can't install the software, and I'm frustrated and I'm giving up. But so far, nobody has said, oh, you're wrong about X, Y, Z. At worst, they may say, can I help by correcting you? So the notion that people will attack you and jump on you for writing something that is inaccurate is probably greatly exaggerated. Patty, does that resonate at all? Okay. Yeah, and as Rodrigo said, just do it. Just find it. Rodrigo, do you know platforms that are good for blogging?
Yeah, I think nowadays a lot of people are using Medium for that.
And the disadvantage with Medium is it costs money for people to read.
No,
right?
not necessarily. I think you have You just need to create an account, but I don't think you need to pay. Yeah, that's the only thing, exactly. What else? My blog, I just created one myself with WordPress and bought a domain. It's also easy to start. It's no big deal.
Okay. You can click the red button in the right corner to participate in the discussion, or you can just type questions in the chat. I can't see the red button in the right corner, so I can't tell you where to find it. But if you do that, you'll be
here with live with us.
Well, we hope you'll be live.
So, Barry, while there is no more questions, that was about your books. How many books did you write? 11 books. Wow.
The first one was a textbook. It took me 7 years to write. The third one was Java for Dummies. It took me not 7 years to write, but 7 weeks to write. Which means that once you've got practice, you can just go. I don't write as quickly as I should. I'm getting yelled at by editors right now to write faster. But I love doing it. And is it hard? Yeah. And is it hard? Yeah. You gotta work on it every single day. I found, unfortunately, that in order to get a book written, I had to set aside the small stuff and just go ahead and write. I also found, and this is probably excellent advice because it's coming from me, that it helps to find a voice that you like writing. So I started writing for the For Dummies series a while ago, and I get to kibitz, I get to joke, I get to tell crazy stories, some of them true, some of them made up. And I love that kind of writing. I really enjoy doing it. And that's what keeps me going. If I didn't have that, I'd probably stop. Once I stopped the Dummies series to write a book that did not, as part of its charter, involve humor. I did it. It took me about a year or so. After it was done, I just felt, this was just stifling. Couldn't do it. I mean, I did it, but I had a period of a few months after writing it where I was as goofy in person as I could be, just as a release from having to be serious writing the serious book. It was Java server pages. It was reviewed favorably by 7 out of 8 people because there were 8 people who read it.
Do you use any software for grammar correction or stuff like this? Grammarly.
Grammarly.
I think that's important. I guess many people maybe don't know about Grammarly.
Now, if you write for a professional publisher, they will have a copy editor who will look it over and correct any grammar mistakes that you have. The trick there is not having no grammar mistakes, but having few enough of them so that it doesn't take you a long time to review the copy editor's corrections. Karen, anything else we can do for you? Or Patty? And anybody else has a question, put it in the chat. Rodrigo and I would be happy to discuss it. Thrilled.
True. So that's it.
And Patty, you teach computers? You're not the only one here because apparently there are 8 people. So where do you teach computer science, Patty?
I think Patty has everything that needs, right? She loves teaching. She's passionate about it. So that's it. That's all it takes for start blogging.
The most important thing in the world is to like what you do for a living.
That's all. That's
well, one of the most important things. Patty, since you're the only one who's willing to type in the chat, tell us about yourself. Where do you teach? Oh, you teach in a community. Do you do this online now? Yep. Okay. Every Saturday. And are your friends experienced in Linux and coding, or are they newbies? JavaScript mostly. And learning Java. Cool. Very nice. I've taught JavaScript courses. They're kind of fun. Make something appear looking nicely on the screen in about 2 minutes. Much harder to do in a
You absolutely do, Patty.
coding.
There's no best way to learn than teach.
So, Patty, what topics come to mind for things that you would like to write blogs about? I promise we won't steal it. Any ideas?
That's nice. That's brave.
What did you switch from? The IT world, sysadmin, and now you went from sysadmin to Linux and Windows. Cool. And how was that switch for you to software developer? Awesome. Yeah. What made it a good, fun switch for you? I'm going to take a guess, and I'll tell you then after you've answered if my guess is the same as your guess, as your response. Awesome people like me. Rodrigo, did you see that? Yeah. So the people you're working with are learning new things every day. And you weren't doing that when you were doing sysadmin? It was boring. Was it the material? Was it the stuff that you were learning boring? Or the stuff that you were doing boring? Felt like a dead-end job, yeah. Yeah. People asked me, it was the people I was working with, what about them? Zombies, yeah. I worked once at the Wisconsin Gas Company, and there were only zombies there, except for me, of course. People ask me, I don't know if my age, to what extent my age shows through on the screen, but people keep asking me, hey, when are you going to retire? And the answer is probably not until I fall over. They'll take me out of the university in a pine box because I just love doing what I'm doing. And there's no substitute in life for that. When I sit down on my computer, on a typical day, I get email about 10 different new ideas that I'd like to investigate, and I have to keep myself from getting sidetracked with all of them. I usually pursue one or two of them. I'm going to ask if anybody else, I see that there are, how many people here? 7. I'm going to ask everybody else if you could just at least introduce yourselves. Let us know that you're here. Or not. I had intended for this session to be all of us in one room together, but apparently people aren't able to. Rodrigo says connection dropped. but apparently people aren't able to join us. Sophie, how are you? Principal software engineer at Scholastic. How's that? I mean, do you enjoy your work? You have to say yes, right? Because it's important. What is it about it that's fun? Describe the part of it that you like doing. Interact with a lot of great people. People are important, right? That's one of the difficulties of writing, as opposed. So this session was supposed to be, hey, you want to try teaching? You want to try writing? I'll answer your questions. Teaching is inherently a very social activity. You've got 30 people in front of you. You're talking. You're exchanging ideas. They're asking you questions. That's a social activity. So Sophie and Patty, when you say, I love interacting with people, that's teaching. Writing is a different story. It's very solitary. And Sophie, you want to start a blog too. Sophie, were you here when we were giving Patty all our wise advice about blogging? Okay, good. Let's repeat what we said. First question is, do you have ideas that you want to tell people? Do you have things you want to say? Yes. Technical ideas, non-technical ideas? Both. Okay. Have you done blogging or writing? Never. Okay. Do you have confidence that you could start it and do it? All right. And do you have a platform, a place where you can start blogging? There was one that you were recently invited to. Okay, good. So is there anything keeping you from doing it? I can't tell. Yeah, okay. Ask to participate with audio and video if you want. Yeah, I can't. Can anybody see the red button? Anybody who can see the red button, please join me. For example, when you think about an idea, how deep should it be? Should it be interesting or simple? Should you do it in a series? And the answer is whatever feels right. Just do it. And if you start doing it, the first time you do it, you'll be nervous about it. And the second time, you'll be nervous still. And the third time, you'll be bored with it. And the fourth time, you'll still be nervous. But if you keep doing it, you build up a style. You build up a sense of how you want to answer those questions on your own. So, how deep should it be? How deep do you feel like writing? Should it be interesting and simple? It should probably be interesting. The thing is that you create your own style, a style that you're most comfortable with. And the first many times that you write, you're not going to have your own style. You'll have to, fumble around for it and find what works. But there's room for every kind of style out there. There's room for the highly in-depth. There's room for the series. There's room for the one-offs. There's room for the shallow articles. It's just up to you. I would suggest not starting with a series if you're just beginning, because then you're committing yourself to several articles in a row. So just write one, see how it feels. If it turns out that you feel that that's not deep enough, go deeper in the next one. If you find out that you want to be more frivolous and playful and less deep, go for that in the third one. Marcos has, regarding technical writing, many people ask for certifications on the docs that are already there. They don't read. Clarifications on the docs that are already there. Any advice on the balance between being superficial or writing details that are never read? I have a rule of thumb for myself, and it is whenever I write a technical explanation, I try to ask myself, would this be enough for me? And now, and is it clear enough? Is it described unambiguously, which is a difficult thing to do? Is it described in a way that's not tangled up? And does it get into enough depth so that it's not vague and people have to figure out what to do next on their own? And that's a really difficult combination to achieve. But if I feel as if it's right for me, then I put it on paper. And then I get email back from people who either didn't read past the first sentence or read past the first sentence and didn't understand it. And in all cases, I'm just absolutely pleased to get them past the hurdle. Everybody understands a different amount when they read. So when you say they're asking for clarifications on the docs that are already there, we all have gaps. We all read things and don't understand them, or don't have the time to read them, or aren't able to get through the forest for the trees, or the trees for the forest, or something like that. I never begrudge a person who sends me an email and says, hey, how do I install such and such? How do I get started? And I say, well, it's on page 18. And they say, okay, well, how do I get started? And then I say, reply with, tell me what you tried and where you got stuck, and send me a screenshot if you can. So Marcos, I don't know if I'm answering your question. A lot of my communicating with readers is a back and forth via email. I very seldom do what some people do, which is take a guess at what they're asking, send them the most cookie cutter advice that I can, and hope not to hear from them again. I just don't do that. Marcos, can you let me know if I'm on the right track here and helping with your question? Marcos, are you still there? How about writing papers? I never write one in college, but some events ask for papers when you want to participate as a speaker. Let me just, Patty, let me get to that in a minute and talk about Marcos's remark in the meantime. The challenge is to fit the audience. Yeah, and that's a really difficult thing to do. I have trouble even doing it in a classroom where I've got 30 people actually looking at me and right there, because sometimes they don't want to tell me what they don't understand. I guess when you're just writing something and sending it out there, whatever you write, there's going to be an audience for it. So if you have a particular audience in mind that you want to target, that is a challenge. If, on the other hand, you say, I'm going to write what I'm going to write at the level that I'm going to write at, and people who are at that level and need that level, those are the ones who are going to read it. And I'm going to be happy with that. I think that's what I do. Okay, Patty and then Sophie. Sophie tend to add screenshots to my technical emails to assist descriptions. Absolutely. How about writing papers? Never write one in college. Some events ask for papers when you want to participate as a speaker. Yeah, my best advice, Patty, for that is to find out if there are other papers that were submitted in previous years for the same conference. And if so, what do those papers look like? I find that if I don't check and see examples of the things that have been written for before, I'm likely to sort of go off on a tangent and write what I think is a paper, and it's just not the right style, doesn't have the right structure. So I always look for previous works. I'm not particularly good at formal writing, meaning that I don't like to do stuffy kind of, this is a paper for a conference or for a journal. I just don't find it interesting or fun. So when I see that, I try to do the best I can and submit it and see what happens. So we got Patty, we got Marcos, we got Sophie, and we still have 7 people. Can others of you chime in and tell me where you're at and what's going on? I love handing out advice, especially when I don't have to back it up with the truth. The blog site that I was invited to is Medium. Okay, cool. Medium is a very important platform. Did Medium itself invite you? All right, there you go. All right. So I don't have, the only experience I have with Medium is that I get every day an email with articles that I guess are tailored to my interests, because there are always a couple of them that are really exciting for me. And my only problem is that they're probably premium articles, because when I click on them, it says you haven't paid a monthly fee. So I go on another computer, and there okay. Are you still teaching? Yes. Yeah, I'm still teaching, and I'm preparing for the fall semester, which my college has just decided is going to be 100% online. How about that? So what I've got is a blackboard. And if you notice, I'm standing up. I'm not sitting. And so my whole idea for online teaching this semester is to try to make it look as much like a real classroom as possible. I'll have all the students and ask them to have all their videos on so that they can talk to me. It is wonderfully fulfilling when you hear a student go, oh yeah, I get it now, especially in a topic that I enjoy teaching. Patty, so you're doing teaching, but I assume you're teaching a small group of people. I assume you're not doing grading. You're not checking their work and giving them points for it. Am I right? Yes, you are not. Okay, anyway, I mean, I am like their mentor. Yeah, I mean, professional teaching, where I'm in front of a group of college students, is wonderfully fulfilling. I love it when I've got a class that's outspoken and they're interrupting me. They don't bother to raise their hands. They're just saying, hey, Barry, I don't understand that. Or can you clarify that? Or wait a minute, you just made a mistake. I love that. It's teaching college until the end of my days. Yeah, I would love to teach university. It's great. You don't have to deal with parents. There's no discipline problems. The students, um, you think of them as adults, which they are. They're 18 years old. Yeah, but still, um, what I hate about it is grading. I cannot stand taking a bunch of papers and putting red marks on it. Um, so if I could teach at a university where they didn't do grades or any evaluations, it would be heaven. Sophie, have you tried adjuncting? Kahoot is good. Repeat my question. Just anybody. We've heard from 3 people and there are 7 on, which means there must be 4 others who aren't chiming in. Has anybody tried adjunct teaching? Adjunct teaching, meaning you're not a full-time employee at a university, but you're hired to teach one course. Has anybody thought about doing adjunct teaching? Has anybody thought about writing a real book, a big book, big book? And it's Miriam, a wellness coach. A webmaster, sometimes teachers invited me to talk to their students. Miriam, I'm going to get to your a post in a moment. Sophie, how did you find the experience of talking to the students? I have a sort of a general rule in my head, which is that it's much harder to, oh, you're able to amaze them. That's great. For me, it's much harder to go in and talk to a group once and then not see them again than it is to go in day after day after day after day in a regular classroom. Because in a regular classroom, you feel as if you've set the mood several class periods ago. You feel as if you have a rapport with them because you know who they are. I'm nervous when I have to talk to a group just for, an hour or so and then walk away. Hey, if I get it wrong, I'm not going to be going back there. So what you're doing, Sophie, is going in and talking to people once. That's the hard part. The easy part, the part that I really think is kind of enriching for me, is being able to talk to the same crowd 3 times a week. In regular contact, you're able to connect. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Miriam, you're a wellness coach. How is wellness coach going? What with the what? The COVID. Sophie, you've talked to 500 people at once? Nice. That's my other rule, is it's easier to talk to a large crowd than a small crowd. Good for you, Sophie. Miriam, what's happening in the life coach business? What with COVID? Wellness coach. And Miriam, is there any big difficulty now that you don't have the opportunity to see them face to face? I think I just plussed you into the... Miriam, did you just request to get into the session?
Oh,
there you are. Hello, hello. It can happen.
Hi.
We did it. Hi.
It's so much better to see and talk, I think, for you. But I'm not, my English is not very good. I'm a Brazilian girl.
Not to worry.
And
Anybody else, if you can find the button to join us, and then I can welcome you in. The trouble is, it may not be easy for me to see, but it's just better if we're all here. This chat thing is limited.
I also think
Miriam.
so. So I decided to start so you can be encouraged by my bad English and and see that we can communicate and talk and see each other, and that's it.
It's just fun, right?
It's an opportunity.
It's so good.
I was hearing from you, to Marco, and I was thinking about what you said yesterday, and I was very glad to hear what you said, because I always, when I talk and when I write, I think that I'm always worried about what people is understanding, what if they are understanding what I wanted to say, and then we start to put too many informations that make things boring and confused. So what you said made a lot of sense to me, because it's simple than that. I think it's that what you said. Take the picture, the small picture, and more precise. I don't know if it's a word. And if people don't understand, they will ask you.
I hope so.
And you can talk and see what.
Yeah. The most frustrating thing for me as a college teacher is when students don't understand and they're afraid to ask me because they don't want to look bad. I want them to, I tell people, don't be afraid of asking a stupid question, because the stupid questions, those are the ones that I can answer. Yeah.
Great.
Sophie, I had to rehearse, have visual assistance in my presentation. But Sophie, do you know, Sophie, Patty, do you know how to invite yourself into or ask for permission to enter the room? Oh, I got Patty. I think I clicked the right place. Sophie, what about you? Okay, I'll read your. There's Patty.
Fine,
hi,
and you?
How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Welcome to the real
Welcome.
virtual world,
Hi,
whatever that is.
Hi.
You guys chat among yourselves while I read Sophie's
Yes.
note here.
I have my earphones. Oh my god. Oh my god.
How much of my personal experience shall I write about to communicate technical topics? Or would it be better to write technical topics without mixing emotions?
Exactly.
If you've never seen one of my dummies books, there's a lot of personal stuff in there. I just write, most of it's just goofy. I don't write anything. I don't write anything personal. It's funny personal stuff. Some of it true, some of it made up. But I use first person. I always use contractions. Tangents go on diversions. There are probably some people who hate my writing style, but very once a month or two, I'll get an email that says they just love it. It's the only kind of thing they can read. They hate reading stuff that's just straightforward. So, Sophie, my response to your question is write what you feel like writing. I love writing, adding the personal stuff.
Yeah. Well, hi. Can you hear me? Okay. So
yes.
I found very interesting when you are teaching something about computing. I always feel compelled to share some personal experience to make it funny, and well, it has been good for me to engage with the people that I'm teaching with. But thank you so much for your advice. I will start writing my blog right away. I have some issues in mind, some subjects in mind, and my English is also very not good. But
it's fine. It's good.
Yeah, but I feel, as I was saying, as I am switching careers right now, I feel so great to meet awesome people to share the passion about these subjects, and that is awesome for me.
Well, my next piece of advice, since I'm feeling so free to give it, is everybody here is here because they're at a sort of a virtual conference. But another thing that's really important to a career is going to meetups and conferences. And if you aren't already into the going to meetups world, I urge everybody to do it. I wrote a book after my Java for Dummies book. I wrote another Java book, and I didn't realize that it was on completely the wrong aspect of Java. And the reason I didn't realize that was because I wasn't going to meetings, local meetings in my area. And so I didn't realize that what I was writing about was not what people were interested in reading about at that point. A year or two later, I started going to those meetings, and you meet people. It's fun. You get to eat free food if you can. You get into the swing of things, and you just learn what people are talking about. You don't always understand what they're speaking about. Lord knows, I was a mathematician before I got into computer science. If you go to a math conference, you don't understand anything that anybody talks about at those meetings, unless you're really, really, really into their subject. But still, you learn the vocabulary, you kind of hear what's worth knowing about. It's really good. And now that I've blabbered on for a while, go to
okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like this. I'm listening to many people talking about the things I have interest in, and I feel that as I'm interacting, I can interact with the things in my mind. I'm listening and I interact. And if we just know what we are feeling, it just gives us something to tell about things that are going to
Absolutely.
that are that create interest, because it's been said by so many people, but we always have something we can do by ourselves to that subject. Uh, I don't know if I made myself.
That's okay. Listen, Miriam, yeah, I'm going to interrupt for a second. I wanted to ask you. So you're a
Yeah.
wellness coach. Am I? Does that do I recall you? So what brings you to a conference for
One
software
of my
developers?
coaches is going to start his talk. Uh, so
Oh, okay.
I entered to see if I could enter to see him. And today he's a coach. Yeah, he's a wellness coach too, but he's a developer, a very good developer here in Brazil. And he will talk to developers, but he will talk about how to get um, biomarks. I don't know if the word is this, but how to take technology, to use technology to see how your body is feeling, how you were doing with your
I
wellness.
remember.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
started and saw
So
your team, your team, and oh, that's great! I love to hear about it.
there you are. So let me clarify then, just to make sure you're not a technical person. You're not a
No, I'm
developer then,
a
right?
high
So
touch person, not a high tech.
okay. So so I want to officially be the first one to welcome you to Geek World, to the world of
I
us
love you all. I
techies. And
love you all.
yeah, yeah.
I think you are very interesting, a very deep person. Yeah, most of you don't show your feelings, but when we can get near, we see how much you are great, how much you see word with a great heart. It's
I love soaking up compliments. That's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
love you.
I guess I guess the next thing I'm going to do is go back, take a look at the chat. Is there anybody who would like to join us on this um, visual panel, or has any other
I'd
questions
like
that we
to
can
meet
deal with?
Sophie and Marco.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sophie, come
come
on.
on in. I'm sorry. I have to go because he will
Oh, okay, yeah,
start, and I want to see him.
yes,
But I will search you very. It's right, the pronounce.
yes.
Very you. I love it what you said. The way you said, the way you connect. You could be a coach because you do great questions, great
Thank you.
in Portuguese we say perguntas abertas, open questions, great open questions that
Thank you so much
bring
for coming.
what people want to say and what they are feeling. I love it. So thank
You've made
you, Patty. Stay here. Okay, Sophie,
okay.
go in.
Thank you, Sophie. So thank you, Miriam. Sophie, you're going to another talk.
Bye.
Okay. And Miriam, and wait a minute. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you,
Thank you
Sophie.
very
Thank
much.
you,
You're
Patty.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, it looks as if there are still 5 people here. So I don't know what I should do. I can keep answering questions or keep chatting, which I love to do. Um, uh, ask if you want to join the visual part of the panel, or type a question in the chat if you like. There are 4 people now. As we narrow down, I will begin saying goodbye and ending the session. Anybody else have a comment or a question? Okay, so I guess I'm not seeing any other remarks in the chat. I'll hang on for another minute just in case one pops up. If not, I wish you a very, very happy rest of the conference, and wish you well in your careers. Important stuff. Okay, ending the session in 5, 4, 3, 2. Well, Marcos, need to leave as well. Thank you, Marcos. Thank you for participating. Enjoyed your input. Okay, I will end this session. I think that's what happens when I click the leave button. We'll see. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.